Hello students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. Maimuna Akhtar from School of Pharmaceutical Education and Research, Jamia Hamdard. Today we are discussing about the module Interferences in Atomic Spectroscopy from paper Atomic Absorption Spectroscopy. After completing this module, you should be able to understand what are the interferences in atomic absorption spectroscopy, their categories, the classification of interferences based on the nature like spectral interferences, physical interferences, chemical interferences, which have been subclassified as vapor phase interference and condensed phase interference. You have already brief idea about atomic absorption spectroscopy and emission spectroscopy. We know that this atomic absorption and emission spectroscopy involves study of absorption or emission of electromagnetic radiation in relationship to the atomic structure. So these are the techniques for measuring concentration of various elements in sample through their absorbance or emission of light. Being simple, reliable techniques, their use is very widely used in this field. Used for absorption of radiations by free atoms for determining their concentration. In these techniques, the components of samples are first converted into gaseous state or elementary ions by suitable heat treatment. We all know flame, plasma, they are all used for converting the analyte into the gaseous state. The absorption or emission is measured at a selected wavelength, which is characteristic to the individual element. That means the absorption light, what it absorbs, is decided, and the emission wavelength that is emitted from the substance. This absorption and emission from the gaseous mixture serves for the qualitative and quantitative determination of one or more of the elements which may be present in the sample. And the atomization technique, the atomization step, which is converting the analyte or the sample into mist and then into individual atoms, gaseous atoms, is the very crucial step for the precision and accuracy of the atomic absorption spectroscopy. The results are recorded in the form of spectrum, and these spectrums are used for analysis. A spectrum is a graphical representation of interaction of electromagnetic radiation with matter. So we already know that there are basically two types of spectra. One is absorption spectra, that means which are generated by recording the absorption of an element. And second is emission spectra, that is we record the emission pattern from the atoms or elements after they are excited. And they depend on the technique used. Now coming to absorption spectrum. By definition, an absorption spectrum is the fraction of incident radiation absorbed by the material over a range of frequencies, or we can say is the characteristic pattern of bands or dark lines due to absorption of electromagnetic radiations when passed through an absorbing medium. The emission spectrum can be defined as it's a spectrum that arises from electromagnetic radiations emitted by a source, or it can be said that spectra produced by compounds which are converted into gaseous atoms by different methods. That means emission spectra is a spectrum or a recording of the radiations that are produced by substances. The emission lines correspond to the release of photons when atoms from excited state make transition back to ground state. So these emission lines are obtained by exciting atoms, and these excited atoms, when release this excess energy in the form of light, they produce an emission spectrum. They are colored bands compared to the absorption spectrum, which are black and white mostly, or lines in contrast to the bands obtained in absorption spectrum. Now we have basic idea about what is spectrum, what is atomic absorption spectroscopy. When we perform any kind of analytical technique, we assume or we at least expect that we should get maximum information and precise information about anything we are analyzing. And in case of atomic absorption spectroscopy, we also expect same, but this does not happen always. There's always interference in recording the spectra, and these interferences can be of number of types. or they can be due to various reasons. So they generally fall into two categories, that is non-spectral and spectral. It means non-spectral interferences and spectral interferences. Non-spectral interferences are effects that due to the formation of analyte items, and spectral interferences result in higher light absorption due to presence of absorbing species other than the analyte element. These are non-spectral interferences. That means when you subject any molecule to the atomic spectroscopy and some other analyte is there which may result in absorption of the light, you will see increase in the absorbing intensity, or some other element in case of emission spectroscopy that produces light at the same is resulting in increase in the intensity. As a result, you can see the absorption or emission which is not actually the produced by the analyte under consideration. Compared to that, spectral interferences is caused by radiation overlap. These spectral interferences are like you have an absorption peak and emission peak, excitation peak. They overlap each other. So spectral interferences are caused by radiation overlap of absorption line due to emission from another element or another compound. One of the advantage of this FAS is that interferences due to overlapping lines is rare. Those interferences which occur as well as are documented, they can be easily controlled. The interferences that have been observed in atomic spectroscopy have been classified according to their nature or according to their presence. For example, spectral interferences, physical interferences, chemical interferences, which have been subdivided into vapor phase interference and condensed phase interference. Like spectral interferences, they are interference at the level of spectra. That means two elements produce same kind of spectra. Physical interference are due to the physical nature of the components or other materials that are used for the experiment, for example, matrix. Chemical interference is related to the chemical interaction of the material with the matrix or any other compound that is present in the sample analyte, or it may be due to ionization of the sample analyte or due to excitation or dissociation of the same. Now coming to spectral interferences. Now, in initial years of working in the field of atomic absorption spectroscopy, it was believed that spectral interferences do not exist. That means there is no mixing of spectral interferences in this spectroscopy. However, that was not found true in later advances. A spectral interference is appearance of more spectral lines or increased intensity of peak, or which may occur when an absorption line of an analyte overlaps with an interferent absorption line or band. So because they are so narrow that overlap of atomic absorption lines is seldom a problem. So Coriotohan and Pickett were the first to present evidence of spectral interference in atomic absorption. They showed that resonance lines of barium, lithium, sodium and chromium could be interfered with in varying amounts by the calcium, strontium and magnesium oxide or hydroxide molecules in the flame. Also, if an absorbing wavelength of an impurity or other element not being determined but is present in the sample has measuring line within the range of the element of interest, that means the interfering element has same wavelength range that of the analyte of interest, then we can see the interference, spectral interference. The absorbance of the impurity and other elements of not interest will be measured together with the analyte of interest and give a higher absorbance value. For example, vanadium absorbs at 3082.11 angstroms and aluminium is at 3082.15 angstroms. You can see the two lines are so close. So to avoid overlap, a different line for aluminum should be selected, which may be 3092.7 angstroms. The spectral interference is also affected by the radiation of an emission line. That means when an absorbed compound gives light back in the form of emission, those lines also interfere with the absorbance spectra. So, spectral interference is also affected by the radiation of an emission line of another element or compound, or background radiations from flame, solvent, or sample, or other elements which may be present. So, radiation interferences in the determination of sodium with magnesium present and in the determination of iron with copper or nickel present is very well understood and analyzed. This can be avoided by use of alternate wavelength or by reducing the slit width. By reducing the slit width, you actually reducing the wavelength, and by using a blank. Broad absorption band of molecules or the scattering or source of radiations are another potential serious spectral interferences. The flame used as a source of atomization also affects the measured absorbance, as the incorrect flame temperature results in formation of products of combustion, like particulates that scattered radiation from the source and molecular species that exhibit broad absorption bands. If these spectral interferences are not taken care of, then the intensity of transmitted radiations decreases, and as a result, an apparent increase may be seen in the absorbance of sample under study. However, the interferences due to absorption and scattering of radiation by flame can be corrected by using blank analysis. Spectral interferences are also observed when components of the matrix other than the analyte react to form molecular species, such as hydroxides and oxides. The resulting absorption and scattering constitutes the sample's background and may present a significant problem, particularly at wavelength below 300 nanometers, where the scattering of radiation becomes more important. To help in this problem, it is important to know the composition and nature of the sample matrix. The samples then can be prepared by using identical matrix, and as a result, the background absorption will be same for the both the sample under study and standard. Alternatively, the component of the matrix that is responsible for the background can be added in excess to all samples and standards, and thereby allowing it to contribute to the interference becoming insignificant. Many other types of interferences due to sample matrix can be simply eliminated by raising the atomization temperature. For example, by switching to a higher temperature flame, it may be possible to prevent the formation of interfering oxides and hydroxides. So when the matrix is unknown, the interferences due to this becomes difficult to handle. The identity of the matrix is important to adjust the system, and in case this is not available and it is not possible to adjust the flame or furnace condition to eliminate these interferences, then another method must be selected to compensate for the background interferences. Several methods have been developed to compensate for matrix interferences, and most atomic absorption spectrometers which are available include one or more of these methods. One of the most common methods for background correction is subtraction of absorptions obtained from the analyte and obtained from the blank. So that is, you take your substance and use deuterium lamp as a radiation source and record the absorbance. The absorbance is due to the matrix only in this case. That means the matrix absorbs the deuterium lamp radiations only, but not the analyte. Then the recording is done, the spectrum is recorded by using the radiation source as hollow cathode tube. In this case, the absorption will be by both the analyte and the background. So obtain the analyte absorbance. The absorbance of the first case, that is absorbance from deuterium lamp, is subtracted from the second one, that is absorbance obtained from hollow cathode tube. So in that way, you can get the absorbance by analyte only. So although this method of background correction may be quite effective, it does assumes that the background absorbance is constant over the range of wavelength passed by the monochromator. If this is not true, subtracting the two absorbances may underestimate or overestimate the background. Scattering. Scattering is another source of interference in the spectra. Scattering as a spectral interference is a result of scattering of radiation source due to the presence of impurities in matrix. So scattering interferences arise when the incident radiation from the source is scattered due to the particulate matter which is present in the matrix from flame atomization and which may be due to incomplete combustion of the organic material. This incomplete combustion of organic material may give rise to molecular species which exhibit broadband spectra. For example, refractory oxides from zirconium, titanium, and tungsten due to atomization of high concentration solutions pose a scattering interference problem. So this can be corrected by use of blank in analysis. Fassel, Ransom, and Cowley have presented definite examples of spectral interferences in atomic absorption spectroscopy due to overlap of spectral lines. They have reported spectral interferences in atomic absorption processes occurring with the system like iridium, copper, platinum, iron, selenium, vanadium, and aluminum and vanadium. This figure shows you some interference of vanadium with using Kinsley-Werner. So you can see the interference of boron by potassium, lithium, sodium, and phosphate ions. Different ions have different effect on the spectrum of the vanadium. Physical interferences. Physical interferences are non-specific in nature since the physical effects are generally limited to variation in the transport rate of the analyte into the flame. A potential non-specific interferent exercises the same relative effect on various elements and on varying concentration of a single element. Physical interferents which affect the physical properties of the sample solution act to alter the process of aerosol formation either by reducing the quantity of aerosol or by changing the droplet size distribution of the aerosol. For example, if the viscosity of the system is increased, viscosity means low flow rate. So if system viscosity is increased, there will be lower feed rate to the atomizer chamber and as a result decrease in signal produced. So roughly 1 to 5% of interferences can be directly related to feed rate. Change in drop size formation in aerosol, vapor pressure, density, etc. also lead to physical interferences. By use of standard addition technique or by means of methyl isobutyl ketone extraction with ammonium pyrrolidine dicarbonate has been effectively used to overcome the interference due to physical reasons with seawater samples. Chemical interferences. Chemical interferences includes all reactions that are specifically dependent on the chemical nature of the analyte. Chemical interferences may occur with the vapor phase or condensed phase form of the analyte. For example, the effect of phosphorus on both emission and absorption can be seen in the figure on the right hand side. There is a depression in the spectral signal and you can see with increase in the concentration there is decrease, a dip in the signal intensity in both emission and absorption spectra. The effect with boron is also seen in the figure, but in case of boron the effect is less prominent than the phosphorus. This figure is about the effect of phosphorus and boron on the emission signal of calcium. So vapor phase interference, which is one of the category of chemical interference and which has been further divided into number of interferences like excitation interference, dissociation interference. In flame spectroscopy, the excitation interference are not common because beyond the primary reaction zone, most of the flame are in thermal equilibrium. But the change in solvent causes change in flame temperature and therefore may lead to the excitation interferences. For example, if a solvent is changed, you have a combustible solvent which is changed by an aqueous solvent, the flame temperature will change and will result in excitation interference. Excitation interferences are generally given more importance in emission spectroscopy rather than in absorption spectroscopy. Another category of vapor phase interference is ionization interference. Ionization interference occurs due to ionization of analyte in the flame. For an ionization interference to occur, the analyte must be appreciably ionized in the flame. Elements capable of being ionized in conventional flames are generally limited to the alkali-alkaline earth and rare earth groups of metals. This type of interference, that is ionization interference, are chemically specific because of the different ionization energies of the element. So analytical errors can occur when the sample and standard exhibit different degree of ionization. The simplest way, an ionization interferent is some species capable of altering the free electron density in the flame, thereby shifting the ionization recombination balance of the atomic and ionic form of the analyte. Ionization of analyte occurs when the flame temperature is high enough to ionize a significant portion of the element under analysis. As a result, decrease in the number of atoms which can absorb radiation. The decrease in the number of atoms is reflected by decrease in the analytical signal, or you can say the signal obtained. The analytical errors can occur when the sample and standard exhibit different degree of ionizations. The simplest way to control interference is to add a large excess of easily ionizable cation, such as potassium or cesium, to both the sample and the standard. The electrons provided by the more easily ionized element combine with the ions of the element being determined, and increase in the number of atoms which can absorb the radiation. The interferences from ionization can be controlled by two methods. One, it can be controlled by adding ionization suppressors. That is, to add high concentration of ionizing suppressors to your sample or analyte. These ionization suppressors are nothing but species that ionize more readily than the analyte itself. For example, in case of determination of barium, the ionization interference is overcome by adding cesium. Like if you are determining barium samples by using nitrous oxide acetylene flame, the addition of solution of cesium or potassium to barium solution have been used to overcome the interference due to ionization. Second method can be used is the adjustment of the flame temperature, that by lowering or changing the flame temperature. The lowering the flame temperature has been effective in controlling the ionization effect. For example, in the air acetylene flame, sodium is partially ionized, but if this air acetylene is changed to air propane flame, the ionization is negligible. There can be dissociation interferences also. That means the interferences which occur due to the dissociation of the analyte or any substance in the matrix. So dissociation interferences are in a way similar to ionization interferences in that a shift in chemical balance is involved. A dissociation interference is when an interferent changes the relative amount of analyte present as atomic and molecular vapor. Dissociation reactions are also specific since the relative amount of molecular and atomic analyte depends on the chemical nature of the analyte. Condensed phased or solute vaporization chemical interference. The most troublesome chemical interference perhaps is this condensed phase or solute vaporization chemical interference. Number of scientists have described solute vaporization interference associated with flame spectroscopic technique. A condensed flame interferent is one that inhibits the vaporization of the desolvated aerosol droplet containing the analyte. The exact mechanism by which this interference happens is not known, although many explanations have been proposed to account for this effect. The two scientists reporting the solute vaporization interference do not report same thing or similar kind of effects, and the direction of the interference are not same. This implies that the observed interference also includes some other effects, maybe physical effects, which are dependent on experimental apparatus. Now coming to minimizing chemical interferences. The qualitative analysis of some elements is complicated by chemical interferences which occur during atomization. Two most common chemical interferences are formation of non-volatile compounds containing analyte and ionization of the analyte. For example, a compound is affected, for example, in case of phosphate presence and aluminum presence in analysis of calcium. The presence of aluminum, roughly around 100 parts per million in a solution of calcium containing 5 parts per million, decreases the calcium ion absorbance from 0.5 to 0.14. This decrease in absorption is due to chemical interference where the formation of non-volatile particles of calcium phosphate and an aluminum calcium oxides occur. The other methods of controlling chemical interferences include use of high temperature flames. So that means chemical interferences can be overcome by using high temperature flames because more energy is available to break down compounds which would be stable in cooler flame. It can be achieved by increasing the temperature of flame either by changing the fuel to oxidant ratio or by switching to a different combination of fuel and oxidant. For example, then determining calcium in an analyte, and to avoid the phosphate interference in air acetylene flame can be changed to nitrous oxide acetylene flame, which is also represented in figure 3. The addition of releasing agent. So we can avoid chemical interferences or minimize chemical interferences by using releasing agents. A releasing agent is a chemical which reacts preferentially with either the element being determined or with the interfering component. So addition of a solution of lanthanum salt to calcium solution overcomes the depressing effect of phosphate on the calcium signal. It has been observed that adding strontium or lanthanum to a solution of calcium minimizes the effect of phosphate and aluminum by reacting in place of the analyte. That means the strontium and lanthanum reacts with the phosphate, thereby keeping the calcium available for signal. So adding, for example, 2000 parts per million of strontium chloride to the calcium solution, calcium which contains a phosphate impurity and a calcium with aluminum mixture, which is also described in the previous slide, it increases the absorbance to 0.48. Some protecting agents have also been used to improve upon the chemical interference. A protecting agent reacts with the analyte to form a stable volatile complex. For example, use of EDTA, which is well known a complexing agent for calcium. So if we add 1% weight by weight of EDTA solution to the calcium phosphate solution, the absorbance has been increased to 0.52. So students, let's summarize what we have learned in this module. In this module, we have learned about the interferences in atomic absorption spectroscopy. What are the various sources of atomic interferences in atomic absorption spectroscopy? How these interferences have been classified, their classification according to spectra, according to physical interference, their chemical nature based on their chemical nature, how each of the interference can be controlled at the same time by using different techniques or methods. Thank you.